we're going to move on to perhaps a less interesting team, which is the Thunder.
So Thunder are interesting. The Thunder are interesting. Less interesting with the Chet injury, but yeah. Let's talk about the Thund.
No massive offseason trades for the Thunder, although they did have 4 draft picks who are currently signed in on the roster. So last year,
4 first-round draft picks.
4 first-round draft picks.
Right.
Last
year,
second
Jalen was in the first round, right?
He was either very end of the first round or very beginning of the second round, and I'd have to double check on that. But last year they won 24 games. Obviously, they were doing a bit of tanking at the end of the year to try to secure a top 3 pick, which they were able to do. This year they're not projected to be much better with Chet's injury. A lot of people are already speculating that they're just going to start, they could throw in the towel relatively early, and Shai could, perhaps not finish out the year in case he has any sort of injury, because that could definitely be extended out as to a reason to just kind of miss the year and go for a high draft pick once again.
I think that's what's so annoying about them. Like that's like, I think the Chet injury keeps them in this annoying state where we do feel like they're probably going to shut down and go for a draft pick again. Like when they had Chet and they had that one lineup where they had a starting lineup that made sense. Like this is a young core that we are going to now begin to develop. Like I was really excited with the Thunder when Chet got injured. You can see possibly that that internal strategy just shifting. Like, okay, next year we'll do that. It's just like, oh, I'm ready. I'm ready for the Thunder experience. Like let's start it. Like I don't want another year of asset management mode.
Well, they do have a couple interesting rookies other than Chet. I mean, obviously these are young players. They might not make a huge impact on winning or losing games. Maybe losing games, but they probably won't have a huge impact on winning right away. They did draft Ousmane Dieng. That was the 11th overall pick. That was the Knicks pick that they traded for. They drafted Jalen Williams, who was kind of a surprise. I believe
as long as you're talking about the right Jalen Williams, I love him.
The Santa Clara Jalen Williams.
There we go. That's my guy.
Very tail end of the lottery. And then they drafted the other Jalen Williams out of Arkansas.
Do not know as much about that Jalen Williams, but I definitely tuned into way more Thunder summer league. Thunder might not be the interesting team as you're alluding, but in summer league, they're the most interesting team. That's the summer league watch you're tuning into. You got Chet, you got beefed up Josh Giddey, you got Ousmane Dieng, you got like the whole basically their whole starting lineup besides Shai was there. Dort wasn't there either, but still, we got Poku and Chet lineups for little glimpses. Like it was honestly best summer league experience I've had in a little while.
Yeah, the Thunder honestly remind me a lot of the Milwaukee Bucks from say 6 or 7 seasons ago, where there was just so much.
Okay,
they're young, maybe not a whole lot of offensive skill development yet, but they were just so big and long and just arms everywhere.
These are like the Jason Kidd coached. Like Giannis rookie season kind of. Yeah,
these were the Giannis, John Henson teams where it felt like the whole
John Henson. I was a John Henson fan. Like that didn't work out, but I was picked up John Henson a couple times in fantasy. Watched him in college. Yeah, I was like John Henson, sneaky, skinny rim protector, difference maker. I think sometimes players, maybe they fulfill that potential, but like John Henson, like many others, just picked up some untimely injuries, and that was kind of it for him. But he looked like on that exact team you're talking about, we're talking about. I think that they got Michael Carter Williams too, so they're a huge 6'6" point guard. Like Giannis out there at shooting guard, I think back then. Yeah, John Henson, Chris Middleton, I think, was on the team at that point. They had Jabari Parker. This is Larry Sanders. You're right. I'm glad you brought this team up. I know we're talking about the Thunder, but the 2014, 15, whenever Jason Kidd got there, they were briefly kind of fun.
I honestly think the Bucks are trying to replicate something to that. Just put huge athletes out on the floor. You can be pretty decent defensively if everyone's on the same page and knows what they're doing just by doing that. And then offensively, it's going to be rough. It's going to be Shai. We'll see how much Josh Giddey has improved over the year. It was kind of rough for him from 3 last year.
Yeah, I mean his shot still looks so bad. But he got the one thing I'll say about him is he got beefy. He was in summer league. He was putting guys on his shoulder, on his hip, and just barreling his way to the rim. I think it's tough, like them figuring out Shai and Giddey because they're both like guys who love being on the ball. Shai can play off the ball. Shai's got kind of a goofy looking jump shot of his own, but like over his career, he has hit it sometimes. Josh Giddey looks like if he's ever going to be an NBA shooter, it's not going to be this year. I'd be surprised. Like, and even if he has a great year shooting, it's going to be on wide open, non-guarded kind of shots. But like, discussing the Thunder outside of Shai and Giddey, or like if you want to talk about Darius Bazley or something, Bazley, I'm not sure. Dort, like if you're not talking about those guys, we're talking about like it's a draft conversation, right? Like we're talking about how we felt about prospects. Like I liked all their draft picks. I really like Jalen Williams. I really liked Ousmane Dieng. Like they're both high up on my draft board. Like, but who knows? They're like, I think Jalen Williams is going to be a great NBA player, but again, that's like until we see them play some games, there's not too much to say about them. Luguentz Dort kind of had a little breakout year. Like, like looked more like an offensive player, even though like it's kind of been like he's playing in this trashy offense and getting way more shots than he deserves. But like if he becomes an average offensive player, even to, add to that monstrous point of attack defense and switchability across like 4 or 5 positions, like, that's like, that's a lot. That's a big piece for them to have.
And the other thing to consider, I mean, I know this isn't necessarily a happy thought because we want the Thunder to start building and being more than just a team that's in perpetual tanking mode. But like they do have Lou Dort, who if he looks like a really good 3-and-D player, I think that's a decent trade chip. Like he's making a lot. I think on the new extension, he's making 16, 17 million annually, which is sizable, but like that's also kind of the going rate for a player who can be in a playoff rotation and give you valuable minutes these days.
And a guy we watched in a very high profile matchup, just like barricade James, like peak James Harden in the playoffs. Like that was like he was eye popping as a rookie. So we already know he brings that one high level skill. His offense is a question mark. Like he put up some numbers last year. It was pretty ugly. He's just like one of those players that just looks too thick to be a basketball player, and all his motions are just weirder because of that. Like he shoots a jump shot and you're just like, it looks like when you watch like one of these NFL guys that brags about how good they are at ball, and you like see a summer pickup game and it's just this like dude who's wider than he is tall, just like, which makes his arms kind of look short, taking these like jump shots, and it's like, oh yeah, you are kind of a beast on the basketball court, but you do not look like a basketball player. And it's
very mechanical. Yeah.
Totally. And that's how and whether he's driving or taking a jump shot, he does not look like a basketball player, but he is. And now he's a well-paid one. And I think you're right. I think the Lou Dort might be the more likely piece to get moved between him and Shai, but like there could be a blockbuster trade around Shai. I didn't want it to happen. I really wanted year one of the Thunder build towards their contender to start, but now the things that people have been complaining about the Thunder, I feel like could come to pass. I was holding out. I was like, had faith in this roster. And now I'm like, they might start scaling back on their veterans right now. Anyway,
like without Chet and with so many rookies that they're going to want to put in games and have play and see what they got. Like it's hard to imagine them being, even surpassing their 24 win total from last year.
Yeah. Next year's their year. Well, what happens this year? Like, I'm definitely still going to watch a couple games. I think they're like, I like their coach. I like Daniel. I thought he did an amazing job on defense last year. I think they have, you could see Derek Favors and JaMychal Green giving them a functional defensive front court, but chances are the much more likely scenario is just them fighting for one of those bottom 4 spots. As much as I want to see them try to compete, it would be nice.
JaMychal Green was cut, and he's a Warriors pickup. but we can talk about him when we get to the Warriors.
No.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then just axe that whole part of my plan, even though like he's probably done. He looked bad in Denver last year. I'm a long time JaMychal Green fan, but let's let it go. Let's get to some key questions here for the Thunder.
Yeah, I'll let you ask your question first because I don't know if my question was made with the utmost seriousness.
I mean, the Thunder need to do something to demand your seriousness, Simon. They're like, it's probably more appropriate than mine. And my question for you is, what would it take for Presti to let Shai play 70 games and maybe have a crack at like winning some awards, an all-star team?
Yeah. I mean, I think it would just take the Thunder being surprisingly really good out of nowhere. And, that would probably take like all of the veterans really stepping up and playing their best, like Mike Muscala, the immortal Thunder end of the bench guy, being like a meaningful part of the rotation.
Plus minus God, Mike Muscala.
Like Kenrich Williams just being like a really solid, fifth starter or sixth man off the bench, and Shai just like putting up some like just truly incredible numbers. Like if they're over a 50% like win rate and we're nearing the All-Star break, like sure, like just let them play. They have plenty of Clippers draft picks coming up as well as their own. So even if they don't get top of the lottery picks, they still get at least a couple mid first rounders that can potentially hit, and just like let some of these rookies play less minutes, and then hopefully like Ousmane Dieng can be a decent rotation player, and Jalen Williams like certainly looks like he has the skill set already coming out of college to be like a just decent off ball scorer.
Totally. I think Shai, here's my hot take. I think Shai's a top 5 guard in the league. I think the circumstances around him are keeping that a bit of a mystery, are keeping him a little bit hidden, where you're not going to say he's better than Devin Booker or Donovan Mitchell sort of thing. Like, I look at the skill set, I see the defensive potential. I say that he's the only one of these sort of scoring guards that generates a significant amount of rim pressure. I see the passing. I see the shot being there. If he's getting open jumpers in a real offense, like I think, he's like closer to a 40% shooter than a 30% shooter from 3. When I look at all that, I'm just like, he's got a bunch of stuff that Devin Booker doesn't have. He's got a bunch of stuff that Donovan Mitchell doesn't have. Jamal Murray doesn't have. Like, I think if he was on a real team right now, last year, maybe even the year before, I think he would be a clear top 5 guard in the NBA. Again, I know it's a bit of a hot take. People don't have him ranked there right now, but like, I think based on the skill set, it's there, and it is a bit torturous to watch him get shut down and play only 50 games a season and just basically not be a real NBA player that anyone's thinking about that much.
Yeah. I mean, if the Thunder are going to be competitive, it's going to have to be weird. Like, Josh Giddey is going to have to play the 4.5, and they're just going to have to space the floor around him.
Yeah. Draymond Green, Josh Giddey.
It's not going to be conventional, but there's some world in which they win 36 games this year. Okay, my question, since I think the higher likelihood is the Thunder have another forgettable year, is how is the Thunder's home broadcasting crew going to adapt to having 2 guys with the same name on the court at the same time?
We've got to say, Thunder, not a great broadcasting crew, and I'm not going to say any names or elaborate more on it than that. It's not my favorite duo in the league, or trio, and they cycle people around. But I think the best path to that is that Jalen Williams, the second round draft pick, I did check after we were confused about that. He was the 4th pick of the second round. Hopefully he doesn't play too much, because I don't think they'll I think there's going to be, knowing that broadcast crew, I think they're going to make a joke about it every single time it happens. Like, every single time they get confused, they will make a joke about it. And if that happens 4 times a game, that's really going to lower them in the, like Zach Lowe league pass. watchability rankings or however he does that. I think that's a nightmare for the Thunder waiting to happen. And no one's going to tell them to stop. I get the feeling with broadcasters, no one ever tells them to stop a bit. There's not these meetings where like, they're just like, look, this isn't playing well. Like, fans are tuning out because you're making too many Jalen Williams jokes. Like, I'm pretty sure announcers just get to go in whatever direction they want until they get fired, and they don't get fired very often.
That's what they need. Is they just need like a guy behind the scenes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Give them a heads up. Like that's your second time this quarter. Maybe cool it for the rest of the game.
Small market teams, honestly, like as a big fan of a small market team, like having a good broadcasting team is what gets you through the hard times. And the Thunder are in the hard times right now, and they do not have a good broadcasting team, and that is it makes it darker.